In the fall of 1990, the final human keepers packed their bags and left Goat Island Light Station. The Coast Guard removed the station's historic Fresnel lens, a tiered glass optic used to focus a lamp into a highly visible beam, and swapped in modern automated technology to match lighthouses across the United States. But that modernization was entirely off schedule. The Coast Guard had actually planned to automate this specific station 14 years earlier, in 1976. They were stopped in their tracks. The mainland residents of nearby Cape Porpoise actively fought the federal government. They launched a fierce advocacy campaign to keep humans stationed on the island, and they successfully stalled the automation plans for over a decade. Which raises a question: why was a tiny 3.5-acre rock so indispensable that an entire town mobilized to ensure the humans living there weren't erased from the map? This nautical map illustrates the Cape Porpoise harbor entrance. In the 1800s, the local fishing and lumber trades relied heavily on this waterway, but to reach the safety of the harbor, vessels had to navigate an incredibly narrow, restrictive main channel. Right here, southeast of Goat Island, lies a submerged, lethal hazard known as the Old Prince Ledge. The constant danger of navigating past this rock drove local merchants and shipbuilders to petition Congress for a lighthouse in 1830. The government solution went into service in 1833, but the resulting stone tower and keeper's dwelling were an engineering disaster. The builders used poor-quality lime mortar and laid the foundation on uneven ground, causing the walls to crack and rendering the rooms freezing and uninhabitable during the main winters. Up in the lantern room, intense condensation would build up and freeze on the inside of the glass. To keep the light visible at all, the keeper had to physically wipe down the freezing panes 3 times every single night. Because the physical structure of the lighthouse failed its primary function, the technology itself couldn't be trusted. The human beings living inside the crumbling walls had to act as the actual safety mechanism for passing ships. The geography of the Cape continued to punish maritime traffic. Between 1865 and 1920, 46 different vessels wrecked on the ledges near Goat Island. Yet out of all those coastal disasters, the death toll remained at 0. That flawless survival rate belongs to the keepers. Men like George Wakefield, who served the station for 33 years, worked as harbor pilots and operated as a rapid response rescue team. On the morning of New Year's Day 1920, rough seas drove 2 large schooners hard aground near the island. By the time the pounding surf reduced both vessels to splinters, Wakefield's immediate intervention had already ensured both crews escaped safely to the shore. Maintaining the station required brutal physical labor. Keepers constantly cleaned equipment, repaired storm damage, and sounded manual fog signals through zero-visibility weather, sharing the exact same punishing conditions as the local fishing fleet. During a severe storm in 1947, massive waves washed entirely over the island, destroying fences and flooding the buildings. Coast Guard keeper Joseph Bakken waded into several feet of freezing seawater in his cellar to rescue his dog and her newborn puppies, who were floating in a wooden box. Living through these shared extremes removed any barrier between the island and the mainland. Cape Porpoise treated the keepers as trusted neighbors and essential members of the coastal family. This is why the Coast Guard's 1976 automation announcement met such hostility. The town viewed the keepers as guardians, and they refused to let them be replaced by an unblinking machine. Even when automation finally forced the last Coast Guard personnel to pack up in 1990, the residents of Cape Porpoise refused to let the buildings decay into an abandoned rock. In 1992, the Kennebunk Port Conservation Trust secured a lease for the island, eventually taking full ownership. They powered the preservation entirely through local advocacy and volunteer labor. The trust poured resources into the site, restoring the station to its 1950s appearance. They replaced the roofs, rebuilt the storm-damaged boat ramp, reconstructed the historic fog bell tower, and the covered walkway connecting to the white brick tower. Modern volunteer caretakers took up the mantle of the original keepers. That dedication carries real weight. In 2002, a winter caretaker and local lobsterman named Dick Curtis lost his life in a boating accident near the island while serving the station. Goat Island Light Station operated for over a century and a half in some of the harshest conditions on the eastern seaboard. Its record proves that the efficiency of the station relied entirely on the vigilance and resilience of the human beings living at the bottom of the tower, long before the light at the top was ever automated.